Welcome to the Northwoods Kindred. I'm your Gothi, Bodvar, and in today's video we're going to discuss one of the most important ritual items that you could possibly have, the Hlaut Boli. Now, most zealous sacrificers already have a Boli, or a Hlaut Bol, which they've chosen for any number of different reasons. This one's mine here, and I'll show you that in a minute and why I chose this one. But first I'm going to go to some actual references, because I like to give you something you can actually chew on, not just my opinion on everything. So the first thing we'll talk about is the Hlaut Boli in historically. So it said, the blood from sacrifices of either animal or human beings was collected into a bowl, the Hlaut Boli, generally of copper, which had its place in the temple at the principal altar. The altars and the walls of the temple and the people and the idols were splattered with blood with a kind of broom called a Hlaut, or blood twig. Also, in the Germanics, it was that Hlaut was also known as a Sprigginsprek. We talked about that when we did the bloat a while ago. Here's another example. All the blood which came therefrom was called Hlaut, blood sacrifices. The vessels for holding it, Hlaut bowls. Copper, it says usually of copper. It doesn't say anything else that they used, but most likely it would be bronze. They would have been bowls that were held over from the Bronze Age, or there's still a lot of bronze bowls that were floating around at the time from the Bronze Age that were being used. My interpretation, from what I've read here, and I'll show you some examples in a minute, is that most of these bowls would have been like, if this is a Hlaut bowl, see this one's earthenware. Maybe it came before we were making bowls and stuff out of metal, but making them out of clay. And if this was my boli, maybe this was my eaten bowl. And this is also where I sacrificed to, I mean, as a personal level, not on a hoth or a temple level, but as a person traveling around the Northlands, being a Viking and doing my things, my eaten bowl was most likely also my bloat bowl, and in the end, my burial urn as well. So that's something to consider. But when you choose a bowl, you have to choose a bowl that really speaks to you. And to me, I prefer to go as traditional as possible. So the boli that I chose in time was this copper one. It's actually a replica of an Armenian find. When I found it, it appeared to me like it was absolutely dedicated to the Norns, with the three of them hanging out and looking in on the sacrifice. So that's what it means to me. So that's my boli. So here's a bronze vessel, and it says ornamented with the swastika. And keep in mind, this isn't a Nazi thing. This book was actually written in 1890, long before Hitler destroyed all of our symbols. So ornamented with the swastika and other symbolic signs, it may have been used to carry offerings to the gods. That's what it says. And this was a bronze bowl here. So there are also other examples of earthenware bowls, clay and things like that. Most of these vessels, these are all bronze vessels, all very similar in shape and size, found in graves. And then there's a lot of examples of Iron Age finds, most of these bronze, some of them of clay, probably even prior to the Bronze Age is when they were making them out of clay. Almost all of them, this is the tricky thing, is that almost all of these finds, when you read about it, they were found in a burial mound or some other site, and they almost always contained burnt bones, glass beads, tweezers, ear spoons, various little personal items would be with them, and sometimes small knives, ritual knives, and things of that nature, which leads to believe that those bowls were obviously urns. They would have ash, bone, and all that kind of stuff. And maybe if someone had a wooden bowl, that was their Hlaut bowl, and their eaten bowl, and their living bowl. Maybe they wash out of it too. Their whole life was in that bowl. But if it was wooden, it would have probably rotted away in 1,000 years of being underground. So just something to kind of send that home is like, this is Olafs Boli, okay? This is Olaf's Boli. I don't know who Olaf is, I'm making it up. So this is Olaf's Boli, and every time you see Olaf, whenever he comes to chow, he's eating out of this boli, he's washing his face out of it in the morning. This is Olaf's Boli, everybody knows. You gotta remember, people didn't have memory devices like our phones and video and things. Everything was in their head. They remembered people and places and things and names. They remembered these things. So they remember that this is Olaf's Boli. So when they burned Olaf's corpse and put his ashes and his remains in it, and they set it up to honor Olaf, They know that's Olaf. Everybody knows that's Olaf. That's Olaf's ugly green Boli. Everybody knows who that is. So it's maybe a way to honor their dead too, which is why all of those bowl finds seem to have a corpse in them. So here's some examples of Bolis. Some of these were never actual Bolis for me, but they're good examples of something that if you're a solitary practitioner, you absolutely can do. I personally, I've gone through a lot of these. I arrived at this Boli because it's very large. When you're holding sumble for 15 people, there's a lot of mead gets poured out. A lot of mead in the memorial rounds and whatnot. I got to have a vessel that can hold it. I could not hold sumble for 15 people with a Boli of this size. Not possible. But I could absolutely honor the gods and offer sacrifice for myself with a small Boli like this. So some other examples. This is my daughter's Boli. It used to be my Gydia's, but she outgrew it. She grew into something a little bit more suited to her taste, and then my daughter fell in love with it, so we passed it on. So as we move from one person to the other, it still gets to maintain the essence. It was still used for this family as we move forward. And then my Gydia's Boli now is this beautiful crystal vase from Italy. Pretty cool. So that's her Boli now, which is well suited to holding Blot and Sumble on a large scale with a lot of people, as opposed to just a small one. This one is my son's. Real small personal Boli, because it's not like he's holding ritual for many, many people. This is one of my older ones, an earthenware, before I got to where I ended up. And a lot of these are mine, and I'll explain to you how we can move that energy from one to the next as we go forward. This one is one that I've used a lot, still continue to use when I'm out in the field, roaming, doing survival stuff, teaching classes at survival schools and that kind of thing. Then this is one I usually have if I need to do personal ritual. And this is a gourd bowl that I made in 2008. That still, in this one, in the field, in those environments, I eat out of it, I wash out of it. I use it for offerings if I need to, which kind of led me to the conclusion that that's probably the way they used them way back in the day. This is an example of one that somebody gifted us. I'm not sure it was ever used as a Boli, but it would make a gorgeous Boli if that was what you're into. And you can see the sizes, the shapes, and everything are really dependent on you. This is a really nice one to be a nice personal Boli for someone. We use it as an incense burner, but it would be a nice Boli if it came to that. In a military environment, I've used this. I did use this one in a little demo video I did. We'll link that right there. And I also use it occasionally if I'm out canoeing or doing stuff. I don't carry this one in the canoe because it could break. So when I have my canoe kit, I usually have this one, so it's got some use in the field as well. And then if you're kind of into the healing side, maybe your goddess's ear, or you're into potions and concoctions and things like that, this would absolutely be a suitable offering bowl for some as well. I don't actually use it as a Boli, but if you have that physician style mindset, it would make a fair Boli, as well as a larger one as well. And then remember we did a video I will link to at the end where we collected up all of our ritual gear on a budget. This is the Boli that we found at Goodwill to use. Kind of after making the video, it doesn't seem right to just use it as a cereal bowl, so I use it just for an incense bowl now. Fill it with sand, burn some incense on it. So it has a use, although it's never been actually used physically as a Boli, and probably never will be. Now, if a good way to really discover what works for you is, step one is know what size you need, depending on, and you can always move up in the future, or you can always have multiple Bolis for different purposes like I do, but know what size you need for the purpose. And then don't be afraid to Google search. If you're kind of into it, be like, Google search for copper Boli with brass cat heads, and then see what you can find, because they're out there, you know. And you know, like my old first sergeant used to say in the Marine Corps, there ain't no shame in paying for it. So feel free to look for, I don't think he was talking about Bolis, I'm not sure what he was talking about, but feel free to look on on Google and see if you can find these things and find one that you like and buy it off of an Etsy or whatever. And if not, just have it in your mind. If you can just see a picture of one you like on Google, have that in your mind when you're out thrifting and going around to estate sales and things like that. And you'd be surprised how often they kind of show up. They just kind of pop out of the woodwork. So just to get you started and put it in your mind, think about what you would like or what you want or even what you have and drop that down in the comments. You know, my ideal Boli would be a copper Boli of about this size, shape, color, and condition. You know what I mean? Say something like that down there, because then it cements it. It writes it into your head, and then when you're out and about, it'll find you. So the next thing I want to talk about is honoring the Boli. It is a very sacred item. So in order to put a pretty fine point on just how important the Boli is, on the temple altars in the Viking Age was to lie a large ring of silver. On the altar was to stand a large bowl of copper, in which was to be put the blood which came from the cattle or men given to Thor. Those were called the Hlaut bowls, or sacrifice bowl. And it's not in this passage, but elsewhere it also says that there is a flame that does not get put out. So the three things that really, really belong on the altar are the oath ring, the Boli, and some flame effigy. Since it's such an important item, it's obviously listed as an important item, being only one of only 3 items that sit on the altar at all times. How do we honor our Boli and take care of it? One of the first things is in my case, is I don't let anybody else handle the Boli, okay? I know some people do, but for me, this Boli contains the essence of every ritual that's ever been performed with it, from naming ceremonies to summels and bloats and oaths of brotherhood and all kinds of other things. The essence of that is all in here. And I don't want it tainted by the mindset of someone who's not intimate with the ceremony in the way that everything that goes into it. So what we do during our procession, which if you don't know what the procession is, that video I'll link to in the end as well. We walk out to our Ve and we get in the right mindset, and all my ritual tools get passed out to everyone except the Boli. The Boli I carry. That's the only thing that I carry out to the ritual area. Everyone else that's going with us carries the rest of my tools. When it comes to the Boli, no one else touches it without special permission. You can give permission for people to handle your Boli, but it's very rare that I do. The only person that I really ever give permission to handle this Boli is my Gydia, because she's been at pretty much every ritual that this Boli has been at. Now, in the case of my daughters, she was perfectly happy to allow me to use it to shoot this video, because she knows that my energy is in keeping with the spirit of her sacrifices and her Boli. My Gydia was perfectly happy to let me use her Boli to shoot this video, because my energy is the same energy that's in the bowl. It's the same sacrifices. It's the same spirit of kinship. I'm not going to taint that, but it's not like I would just hand this to some new guy who just showed up to meet us. So the energy of the person has a lot to do with it. There are no historical examples that I can find of not letting anyone else touch your Boli. But if you believe in just energy in general, in the way that we transfer energy around and exchange energy with people and objects, then you can probably understand why that's an extremely personal item that we don't share out. But I do keep my Boli displayed. It is displayed. You've seen the display, this display. That's just in an honored place in our living room. But everybody that's here knows not to mess with it. I've never ever had a guest over that was so intrusive that they seen a display like that sitting and just felt that they had to go handle it. And it's high enough, at least in our stead, it's high enough that the little children can't reach it. So little kids can't come damaging things. Adults can admire it, but usually they're respectful enough to not touch it until I come over and I talk to them about what these things are and why you don't handle this part and that part, but you're welcome to hold this and check this out, and here's my hammer and here's the oath ring. Like you can handle these things, but you're not allowed to touch the bowl. So when it comes to part of the honoring of the bowl is how you take care of it. You display it proud so everyone can see, and you take care of it by cleaning it. Now, this, I guess, would be a touchy subject with some people. No, you never clean it. It strips it of its essence. I don't necessarily believe that. So my Boli's used for roughly 12 bloats a year and all kinds of summels and all kinds of other little rituals. And I take pride in it. So every year at Yule is when I polish the Boli. I polish all my tools. Most of my tools are brass, bronze, copper, or at least a portion of them. So I polish all of my tools at Yule so that they're blinging for moving into the new year. And then as the year progresses, that's why it's kind of shiny right now. As the year progresses, it gets dingier and dingier and dingier if I use it. If I don't use it enough, then if it doesn't need polishing by Yule, then I didn't use it enough that year. That's the way I look at it. But I never polish the inside. I leave the inside just as tarnished as it is. And you can see there's a little tarnish in there. But it's not horribly bad. And the reason it's not horribly bad is because I rinse it every time I use it. Because I don't need an army of gnats, fruit flies, bees, and whatever else trying to live inside my Boli. So when we're done with ritual, I pour out my offering, I rinse my Boli, and then I put it back up, or dry it and put it back up. But I never polish the inside. Now my daughter, on the other hand, she does not. She has a crystal in hers, and there is the remnants of probably 50 or more offerings. They just condense down to goop, and she's pretty happy with that. And the crystal is for the purification of the space, essentially. Even in mine, I keep a large crystal just to keep the energy balanced. And it may seem a little hippie new age for some of you to do this, but if you don't believe in energy, then why are you here? So the crystal is in there just to keep the energy balance neutral for any negativity that does happen to come in when people touch it without me knowing it. So I keep that crystal in there just for that purpose. And then I also have a bag of crystals. This actually lives in the vase. It's in here now. But I have a bag of polished quartz stones. And the value of these is that when my kinsmen, both here and around the country, establish their own vase, then they can take that little bit of energy from our vase to their vase. So you have to believe in energy transfer. You have to understand that that's what we're doing when we're communing with the gods, is we're transferring our energies to them and back. If you don't believe in that, then you have to kind of maybe figure out, why are you here? Why are you in a heathen or a pagan way? Because it is all about energy. My Gydia's bowl is crystal, so it doesn't need to have a crystal in it. And she takes great pride in making sure that hers stays clean all the time as well. But kind of hard to soap and water and wash the energy out of a crystal. So that's what we do to honor it. We put it in an honored place. We keep people from handling it when we don't know where their energy is coming from. We take care of it. We clean it. And it doesn't matter what you choose to do. There's no historical examples of any of it. It doesn't matter what you choose to do, as long as you have a reason behind it and you choose to do it. It's not just neglect. This is not the result of neglect. This is the result of a choice to leave those offerings in there until they are no more. So hey, answer this question down below. Do you let anybody handle your Boli? Does anybody get to touch your ritual tools? What about other tools besides just the Boli? Like I said, they can handle almost all of my tools, with the one exception being the Boli. Only I handle that, or my Gydia. So I don't want your waiting on the right Boli to stop you from performing ritual. Because think about it this way. If I don't perform any ritual because I'm waiting on just the right perfect Boli for me forever, that's what I'm waiting on, so I'm not going to perform any ritual until I get that Boli. Then I will be performing no ritual, and I won't have any reason to need that Boli, and that Boli will never find its way to me. And if it did, I will not be in a mindset to acquire it. I won't be there. But if I start with what I have now, and then down the road I'm like, wow, I like this one way better, I'm going to go ahead and go to this one now, and I'm going to continue to perform ritual. I'm going to get better at it. I'm going to develop what I want in my head more and more. And then farther down the road, this one comes to me, and I I didn't know at the time. When I was using this, I had no idea that this was even out there, or that this was the one for me. This has been the one for me for, close to 10 years now. And it'll always be. It will likely be my urn when I die. So if I want to move the energy when I'm going from one to another, again, no historical examples of this. This is just more of a new invention about knowing about energy and how to transfer it. So if this bowl contains the essence of every sacrifice that went into it, then anytime I put liquid in it, that liquid is automatically charged with that essence. So if I can sing, if I can speak what I want to do with that, you know, if I pour an offering in here and I say, I would like to bless the people with the, with the offering with the blessings of the gods during bloat, I'm singing what I want that offering to become. Now, if I pour my offering in here and I sing that I want to transfer the essence of the energy of this bowl to the next bowl, and I pour it to the next bowl, then I have just effectively used that as a transfer device to transfer from one to the next, and then moving forward. So this bowl, the first time I used it, it already had the essence of this one, that one, and any other ones that had been transferred forward. Now, my kinsman came over yesterday to show me this amazing new Boli that he just got. So he just replaced his, and it's a great, perfect Boli for him. And he wanted me to transfer the essence of the Kindred Boli into his. And I did that for him. Now that doesn't mean that it's not here anymore. It just means that it's spreading out. It's essentially just had a child in his Boli. Now that child's gonna go forth and make its own memories and its own energies and everything, but it began with all the energy that was in this one. And it's just a great way to share all of the good blessings and all that energy out and never have to hoard it. All right, and the last way that I would say is an effective way to transfer from one Boli to the next is, again, as I just talked about, the crystal transfer. So I'll keep this crystal. It essentially lives in my Boli, in this bag. It lives in there, but it's not in there when we do ritual. It just kind of sits there and keeps all the energy squared away while it's not in use. But don't think that this doesn't already contain the essence of that whole thing. So if I moved to a new Boli, I'll do the liquid transfer like I said, and then this crystal will now live in the new Boli, and it'll help put all that energy in sequence. And the best example I can give you is a phenomenon where they would take 100 metronome devices and lay them out on the table together, and they're all out of time and they're all clicking and whacking in different directions and everything. But in time, all 100 of those metronomes synchronize with each other. And that's all we try to do when we're transferring energies from one Boli or from one ritual item to the next, is we're trying to synchronize the energy. And then once we separate them, they can go off in their own directions, but they start in a state of synchronization. And that's the whole goal. Again, drop down in those comments and you tell me, what ritual item do you want me to do next? You want me to do an oath ring, a hammer? You tell me what you want me to do next, and I'll do a complete, we'll go through some historic examples, we'll go through some more new age type examples, some ways that I do it, other ways that you might be able to do it, and then any other pertinent information about those items. So leave me that message and I'll do what I can for you. May all of your sacrifices be received by the gods and reciprocated in kind, because a gift demands a gift. Hail the folk.